Tonight on Stuff We Say, we're joined by Plat as we go over the Nintendo Switch 1 year later, from its ups, its downs, its launch, its announcement, and indeed its future. Hear it all tonight on our inaugural episode. So welcome to Stuff We Say, your weird and retro podcast. Tonight on our inaugural episode, Nintendo Switch 1 year later, the first birthday of this system. I'm James from Stuff We Play, and joining me is
Rose. Hi.
And also joining us tonight are our two guests, Snorzy, who actually who came up with the idea of this podcast.
Hello.
And also joining me here tonight is my friend Kenton, a.k.a. Plat, all the way from California.
Hi everyone.
So, this is kind of an icebreaker thing. I know we all know each other, but this is like a first day of class type of thing. You know, the very awkward thing where your teacher kind of wants you to go, you know the thing, what's something you don't know about me? Except we aren't that awkward. We're going to play a game called Spot the Fake. We have 7 upcoming game titles, and one of them is fake. So, Rose, would you like to take the announcer role to go down the list, and then we will all decide which one is fake, except for me, because I know which one it is?
So
this is how we get to know each other's.
Yes. So our upcoming March releases are going to be Galgun 2, Kirby All-Star, you misspelled that.
Kirby Star Allies.
Kirby Star Allies.
Yeah, Kirby Smash Mouth.
Final Fantasy 15 released for the PC. We have Rocket Slime HD, the Mega Man Legacy Collection Combo Pack for the Switch, Hello Kitty Cruisers for the Switch, World Conqueror 10, and Detective Pikachu.
So, of those 7 games, which one, you three, do you think is the fake?
Well, I know the answer to this too.
Well, you don't answer. Guests, which one do you think it is?
I'm gonna have to go with World Conqueror.
Yeah, especially because you corrected him when he said 10. So I feel like there's some sort of like inside, like your mind said, wait a minute, that's not what I pictured for this amazing game in my skull.
Also, I don't even know, I didn't even know if that was a game. I know all the other things are games. I didn't know that one existed.
So should I go and give the answer?
Of course.
So the actual answer here was Rocket Slime HD. That is not a thing that is coming out in the next few months. Not just March. Some of these are even going to the summer. World Conqueror X is actually a strategy game based during World War II that is coming out for Nintendo Switch on March 8th. And speaking of the Nintendo Switch, I think that's a great way to segue into our topic for today, after all.
So, our main topic around the Switch is going to be that its 1 year anniversary, March 3rd, is coming up next weekend. And so we kind of want to do a discussion session on how that first year went, from the initial release trailer on it to the
Press conference?
Yes, thank you, sorry. The press conference on that, and then its release as well. And then going from there, we'll talk a little bit about how its first year in terms of sales and games went. And then a little kind of looking to the future and hopes kind of bit.
Now, something I should mention here as well with this, when we're switching things up a bit with this, but this is going to be more of kind of our personal take on all this. Of course there's going to be the factual stuff and whatnot, but we aren't here to talk about news. We're here to talk about, what made the Switch important to us. Even you, Kenton, even though I know you don't personally own a Switch currently.
So we're going to start off at the late October 2016, or late October-November window.
Yes.
Switch reveal trailer.
Yes.
What were your impressions when you first saw that?
Let's start with guests. Kenton, would you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I remember when I saw that, it was a little bit jarring to see Nintendo in such a different light, I suppose. But it looked like they were having so much fun with it that it was it really made me think like, this could finally be the thing that Nintendo needs to break through again. But I wasn't, like a lot of people, I was not fully convinced of the things that it could do, and of course all the specs. And I think the thing that kind of weirded me out the most was just the name, the Switch. I mean, because you looked at the thing and you're like, okay, of course it's going to be called the Switch, and they couldn't really think of anything better. But I'm like, I don't know, it just seemed so non-Nintendo, I suppose, but it still left a positive, positive taste in my mouth. It left a positive impact on me.
Would you say it was a better title than the Wii U too?
I don't know. I feel like they could have just gone with the whole joke of like, "Hey guys, remember the Wii U?" and just kept going with that. I still would have bought it. I still would have wanted to buy it had it been called the Wii U too.
What about you, Snorzy? What were your first reactions to the Nintendo Switch trailer back in 2016?
Well, I was in school whenever the trailer came out, so I was like at the end of class, looked at my phone, so I watched it. I remember sitting there, and I knew that change was coming in Nintendo. The first thing I noticed with the ad is it looked like a serious ad for the Nintendo Switch, not just a like near the end or even in the beginning of Wii U trailers. It was just full of like little kids, kind of just doing dumb things, like at the store buying amiibo with their moms, or something. And you have the guy from Stranger Things.
Oh yeah, I
with
remember
the
that
Donkey
one.
Kong amiibo. I
Was the
remember
guy
in
from
the
Stranger Things really in there?
yes, in the
Oh, wow.
in the amiibo commercial, he's the guy who goes like, "Oh, it's Donkey Kong is gonna be bananas." That's him.
My God.
I remember just sitting there and I watched the advertisement and I thought about it and I was like, "This looks really good." Like, I like the music in the background and like a lot of Nintendo Switch commercials just made it seem too. It made it. The best way to describe it is the NES in the 1980s was kind of advertised as like a toy towards children. And I thought Nintendo kind of grown out of that whenever N64 and Wii came around.
Most definitely.
In N64, GameCube, Wii, they kind of like grown out of that. But with Wii U, they're like, hey, it's for kids again. And people who are like trying to get the next console, that's why they would look at it and be like, well, I don't want this console. And they just go to Xbox One, and they would also go to, and they would, all they do is show off like Xbox. Not Xbox, like their own Nintendo games, but not really showing off any third party. But one of the things in the Switch trailer is they showed off Skyrim for the Nintendo Switch. I think they showed off Rocket League, which was a really...
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
I think they actually showed that during the part where they're like sitting at the park table or whatever.
Though I feel like with a lot of the third party stuff, that really didn't come out till closer till launch. Where you got that presentation in January of that year. So Rose, what were your first impressions with the Switch trailer, the first one, 2016?
I lost my goddamn fucking mind.
Really?
Yeah, because here's the thing. My favorite thing about the Wii U was its gamepad. The fact that I could play Wind Waker curled up in my bed, systems like across the room. I don't have to hook it up to a TV. I was sick in bed at the time, and I'm curled up playing one of my favorite GameCube games in bed was amazing.
Right.
And then to actually see that like they pretty much made iteration 2 and like let you take it farther than just your bed or bedroom and actually like go out and walk around, go to work with it, go to school with it, was amazing. I was so hyped about its potential.
Most definitely. I'll be honest though, I was kind of on the fence about the Switch when I saw the trailer, because my first response was, oh, it's the Wii U, but just the gamepad, right?
Yeah.
And keep in mind, I bought the Wii U the year it launched.
Yeah.
And with that, I was like, well, this is cool, and I love Nintendo stuff, but I wasn't really sold on it. Like, I was interested, but not sold with the Switch trailer, right? I thought it was cool, but but literally in my mind, I was like, so is this going to be Wii U Part 2? And
Yeah.
I guess with that, it's a good point for us to kind of segue into more of that launch window. Who remembers that massive ass live streamed Nintendo Switch presentation Nintendo did back in January of that year?
Oh yeah, I remember that was my whole night.
So
yeah.
Like, I thought that was crazy because, like, I know that's a big thing for companies to do, but I'd never really seen Nintendo do something. That felt like something straight out of, like, not like, I know Apple's famous for that, but, like, the old school Apple ones where, like, Steve Jobs would come out, like, there'd be, like, big, it reminded me of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did y'all think about, just kind of quick thoughts on the January Switch presentation last year? Like, did that get you hyped?
So when you were talking about how you weren't really sold by the first one, I feel like I could comment on that by saying that I felt the same way. But then when it was when the the press conference kind of turned into presentation thing that happened in January, that was the thing that ultimately sold me. Everything looked pretty amazing, and even though the whole thing with the HD Rumble and the Joy-Con boys meme was a little was a little wacky, like it still looked like super fun, and I I don't know. I'm trying to think of the specific thing that I think got me into it. I think it was when they first showed off Super Mario Odyssey,
Yes.
because at the time I was thinking like, okay, well, all of these extra things look super cool, and I feel like they're really kind of pushing it as this millennial party favor almost. But then when they showed off some of the games as well, and Splatoon 2, because I'm kind of a closet Splatoon fan. Um, I'm like, okay, so they're also still focusing it to have some really killer games. So that's when I feel like it definitely pushed me over the edge. And my roommate and I were watching that night, and we just we just flipped out. There's no other way to put it.
No, Snorzy, how about you? What did you think? Did you watch the presentation when it first aired?
I didn't watch it until later, and um, I'm not gonna lie. Like Nintendo Switch's lineup at first, I wasn't really excited for much except for Zelda. But for every Nintendo console, I know that like the games at launch are not going to be the only games that come out for the system. Like there's always going to be the next like Mario Sunshine, which I love, or Mario Galaxy, or like Twilight. Well, not Twilight Princess was launch title. Uh,
No, for sure.
like there's always going to be games that come out for the console that are gonna like definitely make the console, but won't come out at launch because they needed to like be formatted for the console later in its lifetime. So even though I knew that like not much was going to be coming out at launch, I knew much more was coming later.
Sure.
Yeah.
But what about you, Rose?
I I found the press conference was really nice to like learn more of the features of the Switch. However, by that point the press conference came out, we already kind of knew all the information that was released in the press conference, except for a few game announcements that they dropped there.
And the HD Rumble wasn't announced until there as well.
The HD Rumble was mentioned in a press briefing in late December, which led into the conference. So I kept like I was very hyped about the system, so I kept my ear to the ground on like all the details and rumors and leaks and stuff, right? So the press conference to me was not as exciting as the original announcement that just kind of like blew my mind a bit. But what was nice about it was it at least confirmed the feature set of the Switch and like nailed down exactly all of the details and questions that people had,
Right.
which gave me more confidence about the system.
For sure.
I also, you're touching your note on the kind of Appleization of them actually doing a press conference like that.
Yeah.
I actually liked that move.
So did I.
It made it feel very mature. It made it feel like they were targeting a mature audience that likes to get their information, like a dump of information like that from a big press conference. So I liked it. It was good.
Same here. Like I could really appreciate like the way the press conference was. Like it had silly parts, like the guy dressed up like one of the what are they, Inklings from
the Splatoon 2 shape tried to form himself into. It was
like,
really cute.
It was a little cringy that part, but like I felt like on the whole that the entire thing, it felt like they were treating their audience like adults.
Yeah.
Which I get. It's a press conference. You got, if you're live streaming, you got to simultaneously give it to your prospective buyers and something that will please the shareholders.
Yeah.
But also, I wasn't sold on the Switch still, and I'll be honest. In fact, when we talk about launch in a sec, I'll mention how I did not buy a Switch or feel compelled to for at least 6 months afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that captivated me from that I thought really interests me was when they got what was it, the EA guy on stage there, right?
Yeah.
Because I think EA is crap. I don't care for their games, but they are a major third party, and that did make me kind of regain some hope of Nintendo. And then launch came, and I was disappointed with the launch lineup. Let's talk about launch. You had Zelda, which was also on Wii U. In fact, to this day, Breath of the Wild on Wii U is my version of Breath of the Wild. There was 1-2 Switch, there was Bomberman, and then there were some eShop titles. Like I think Fast RMX was out there.
There was Fast RMX. There was two Shovel Knights. There was one for just Spectre Knight, and then there was the Shovel Knight collection. And then there was, I can't remember the Square Enix title, but it was a little like indie, not indie, but it was an RPG, turn-based. I can't remember its name off the top of my head, unfortunately.
Was Snipper Clips launched?
Snipper Clips.
Yes.
Snipper Clips. It wasn't launched.
Yes.
It was the launch week after. So I believe Switch came out 3rd. Snipper Clips dropped on 12th.
Oh.
Might as well be. Might as well be launch. What did y'all
1 second,
think?
I just got a cough here.
You're fine. I'm keeping that in.
I'm on a tail end of a cold.
Oh, no, you're fine. Don't worry about it.
But were y'all sold at launch? Because I've already mentioned I wasn't sold at launch.
Man.
But I know some people like Wood from Beat 'em Ups who actually live streamed waiting in line, like finding what was potentially the last unreserved Nintendo Switch in Vancouver, right?
Yeah.
Like, were you sold? Like, I had no desire to go and reserve one at that point. But what about you guys?
Well, considering launch, do you guys mind if I talk about when I went to the launch event here in Los Angeles? Because I feel like it would kind of go...
Absolutely.
It would help explain my thoughts about how I felt as soon as I was actually given like hands-on experience. So I remember when I was there, and this was a thing that they were just giving tickets out for free on their Facebook for. So it wasn't like it was any sort of press thing. It was mainly just for the public, I think. And I'm not sure if you guys also mentioned Mario Kart 8 Deluxe as one of the launch titles, because I don't know if it was launched, but I feel like even if it wasn't, it came out soon after anyway. So no, that's definitely not launched.
It came out
then.
April
But
30th.
that one and Snipper Clips were there, and they had like this this kind of crazy glass booth for 1-2 Switch, and then the huge line was all the people waiting to play Breath of the Wild, and I think when I realized like how much fun you could really have as a group with some of the games like Splatoon 2 and even though 1-2 Switch kind of gets boring quickly, I still had fun playing it with like random strangers there. I felt like it was really pushing the multiplayer aspect, and considering that I'm in an environment right now because I'm a student where I feel like you could have a lot of multiplayer interactions. It would be I felt like it would be great for me, and so after just having tons of fun and noting that the portability was a thing, especially because I can't have a full-on TV like as I'm sitting here right now, I'm just looking at my little shelf on top of my desk. But I was quote sold, but the only reason why I chose to not get it was because I'm just someone who doesn't have a lot of time to play video games in general anymore. So and that's not a fault of Nintendo's at all. So I feel like that was the thing those are the things that sold me, followed by my kind of unfortunate and specific reason why I didn't get it.
For sure. Though, I mean, what do you think when you ultimately got to play it in a more casual position? Did you get a chance to play it before Christmas with Colin, Elliot, and I last year?
Yeah, because I played it there at that event, and it was I mean, the system felt pretty sturdy. I mean, I know there were a lot of people saying like, "Oh, it's kind of cheap," but when I was holding it, I mean, for a portable system, it felt really good. And you know, I played Breath of the Wild on the big screen for about 20 minutes, and it felt amazing. So I was most certainly impressed by it, and I think, you know, with Nintendo and their style of games, especially the Bomberman game, holy crap, that doesn't need that much processing power at all, and it was amazingly fun. It reminded me of some of the more classic Bomberman games, actually, which are my favorites.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. Book Grand Bomberman, unless you're playing what was it, Act Zero on the 360? It's good the way you cut it. What about you, Snorzy? What did you think of the Switch at launch, and did you buy one then, or did you wait off?
Well, I didn't really have the option of buying one at launch. I had to wait and because where I live, every Nintendo Switch was sold out at launch. Like I didn't feel like reserving one, honestly. I just wanted to see its lineup build up. So I didn't get a Nintendo Switch until about August of last year, and I got mine for $400 at a convention. But it came with Breath of the Wild, Just Dance,
You
Lego
should
City
state
Undercover.
what currency you bought that
Oh,
in.
Because the Switch is $400 in general in Canada. I should mention we kind of got fucked with the price.
wait, 400 American dollars,
Right.
400 US dollars.
What game did you get with it? You mentioned Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild, Lego City Undercover, Just Dance, and Has Been Heroes. I have I've played Breath of the Wild the most out of any of those. Just Dance probably second. Has Been Heroes I played for like a day and was like, okay, this is kind of boring. And I have not played any of Lego City Undercover.
It's good. It's a lot of fun. It's Grand Theft Lego.
It's decent, but it's not in my taste.
Yeah.
So I can understand.
I feel like you
avoiding
really
it.
have to just enjoy the Lego aesthetic and the style of the Lego games in general, or else it's like, well, I could just be playing GTA.
Exactly. Like I've only liked one of the Lego games, but
But
Lego
that reminds me.
Star Wars?
Yeah, for me it was Star
Harry
Wars.
Potter actually for me.
It was Star Wars.
I
for
like
me
the
as
Lego
well.
Star Wars.
Lego Star Wars is a good time, but getting back on there, Rose, you bought yours at launch.
I didn't buy mine at launch. I bought mine like a week or two after launch. See, the issue for me is they were sold out.
Yeah.
I bought mine off a scalper.
How much? You paid 500? You said.
I paid 500 Canadian for my
Did he
Switch.
scalp you?
Okay, so
Well, yeah, because the Canadian price is 400, and I paid an extra $100.
so that's getting additionally screwed on top of how Nintendo's already screwing you for living in Canada.
To be fair, though, in Canada, Switch being at $400 doesn't include the tax, which would be on top of that, which would have been about $450, and then also he delivered it to my house.
Okay, that's pretty nice.
So I mean, to pay $500 for that, I'll just give myself the excuse I paid shipping. But yeah, no, I bought Zelda ahead of time. I actually got Zelda before the Switch because the demand for the Switch was so high.
I have a friend
It's not
who
bad
actually
idea.
bought Zelda like with his he bought a Switch I think like a month after launch and he didn't have Zelda so he bought it off eBay, and when he
Yeah.
not eBay, it might have been eBay or Amazon, but like when he checked where it got delivered to Houston.
Oh, hey, that's where I live.
What?
Or used to live.
That sucks.
But he doesn't live in Houston, obviously. So he was just like, yeah, I bought a copy of Zelda online, and some guy in Houston got it.
Nice.
I'm not getting that copy of Zelda.
I wish I
That
got that
sucks.
copy.
I'm like,
of Zelda.
well, that's-
I had to go anywhere in Houston. As for me, what was weird with it is, so I've been living in Victoria for a few years now, but it was only earlier last year that I finally moved out of the university dorms and into a townhouse of my own. And from there, as kind of like, I know it's going to sound stupid, but like as a housewarming gift to myself, because it's like, well, I'm already putting a lot down for the place and whatnot. I guess I'll get myself a Switch as well, especially since I had some money set down. But I was like, how am I going to find one? And I feel like this was before they announced the Super Mario Odyssey bundle. So at this point, I kind of felt like, well, if I don't get one now, by the time Odyssey gets released, it's just not going to happen. Rose, what are you doing with the cam?
Just in the camera because I'm off screen a little bit when I stand.
Oh. That might be a little
And
too
you
high.
should stand as well because you're squeaking a lot.
Okay, then I guess
I
I'll
start
stand. This is the first episode. All right, so welcome back to Jazzercise.
Welcome
but-
back to Squeaky Chairs. Stop.
All right, but anyways,
For every time someone donates next time, these two have to stand up
My
and sit
God.
down.
if someone
Squeak.
if someone like randomly wants to send us money, sure, yeah, we'll do Jazzercise. We'll do a stream, but what I was
What
like,
was that
well,
Japanese jazzercise thing?
no, Jazzercise was a thing from the 80s where it's like jazz music and exercise, and yeah, was it 80s, 90s?
The whole like get
Yeah,
and
But
it's like,
but back on the Switch, one of the big things with this Switch for me was Mario Odyssey. So I went to EB Games it's the one in the Bay Center in Victoria, BC, for those who are wondering.
Copy that.
And I went in there, and I was like, "Do you have any Switches in stock?" It's like, "No," but the delivery truck is dropping off 5 in half an hour. So I went up to the food
Oh
court,
man.
I got myself a burger, and I went back down, and I just saw a little delivery guy, come out with some boxes. Like, yeah. So I literally waited outside, went in, I was like, yeah, give me one of those Switches.
Give me one of the Switches.
And actually, the funniest thing is, there's a SNES Classic I got that I'm giving away on my personal channel for when I hit 5,000 subscribers. I did the same damn thing with that. I went and it's like, hey, do you have any SNES Classics or something like that? It's like, we're getting them in an hour. So I went, ran some errands, came back, and I was like, do you have it in? It's like, yeah, we got them in 5 minutes ago. I was like, great, I'll take one.
See, that's crazy. Like I feel like if that were to happen somewhere, I mean, I've been to Victoria before, so I know it's not the most barren place in the world. But I feel like if you were in a busier place, like as soon as they said, "Oh, hey, we're gonna have these in a little bit," you just have to like stand in line there until they had them, or else someone else would come and get them first. I mean, that's awesome, honestly, that you could just grab a burger and and get your Switch.
For sure. I mean, granted, it was like, what? I think it was like a Tuesday afternoon or something, so it wasn't that bad. But also, like, I definitely feel like if I was in Vancouver or something, that would have been an issue. Granted, Victoria's a big gamer city, but...
Yeah. I actually want to bring up a fun fact kind of thing. So, in Victoria, we have a couple EB games, but there's only one that does, like, the midnight release kind of thing.
Mhm.
And I went to the midnight release for Mario Odyssey.
Really? And so did I.
The midnight release at the Hillside Mall in Victoria was the second largest crowd in Canada for the midnight release in all the EB games across Canada, except for Toronto. Toronto beat out Victoria.
But who wants to go to Toronto?
But like that's crazy that like our island of just Victoria like outpopulated EB games compared to like Vancouver and stuff.
Like, to put that in perspective, we're a city of 60,000 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we aren't huge.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So,
Like not even Montreal.
No, not Montreal, and we have the addition of being a bit, I guess, a bit more coastal as well.
Yeah.
So I guess getting back on topic and moving away from the Canadian demographics. So and let me tell you about the launch of Newfoundland. But
Hey, that's our word.
Huh?
I'm joking.
So I guess before we break and before we go for our little ad music break, which we're doing a little differently for this first episode, how do you think the Nintendo Switch now stacks up to how it was at launch?
Well, I think that the number of games that Nintendo said were going to be released for it eventually was not quite lived up to. But there have been quite a few good gems, such as Mario and Rabbids, which I've heard is good, but personally I'm just not that very good at the RTS games, so I'm not sure I would be too big a fan of that one. But I don't know, and I think with Microsoft and Sony pretty much focusing all their efforts into making the most like powerful and expensive systems possible, they the Nintendo Switch is probably going to fall behind on that a little easily. But I feel like because of its portability and just the way that it's still being kind of heavily marketed, it's going to do pretty good for itself as long as Nintendo pushes more games and maybe doesn't focus on things like Labo, which, I mean, I don't know. It's that kind of thing made me question why they're what they're really pouring their efforts into.
Well, I actually wanted to touch Labo a little bit, and
we can the second half.
Yeah, so we'll have a discussion on Labo after the break.
Yes, but Snorzy, what how do you think that the Switch stacks up? Has it lived up to your expectations?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what I came into Nintendo Switch for was something that's way better than the Wii U, because that thing, I just wanted to have, there was a couple of main things I wanted. I wanted a proper 3D Zelda game that had, like, the scope of a world that could live up to, like, I don't want to say, like, Ocarina of Time standards, but, like, Wind Waker standards, minus water.
Oh, come on.
It's just a lot. Wind Waker HD fixed that. Shout out to the Wii U for like the couple good things that they did. I wanted a proper 3D Mario game because the last 3D Mario game that I had played that I was like, oh yeah, I love the controller for this. I love the platforming. Probably say Sunshine. I like Galaxy. I'm just not a fan of the Wiimote.
I completely agree.
And I wish they had given you the option like use GameCube controller on Galaxy because I might like that game a bit more.
And you could use the Pro
And
controller.
I think Mario, I'm not a big fan of the
I
Pro
can
controller.
respect that.
You could use the Pro Controller on Mario Galaxy 1. I don't think you could on 2 either.
Isn't the GameCube controller adapter Switch compatible?
We're talking Mario Galaxy, so we.
Oh, I thought he said Odyssey.
Odyssey.
No, Galaxy.
No, Odyssey's fine.
Oh,
As
never
I
mind.
say, I don't think that there's. Anyways, so and I wanted to be able to play some like my favorite games on the go. Like personally, I'm a really big Tetris fan. Like that's probably one of my like
Yes.
top
Hardcore
game series. I love
Tetris.
playing Tetris, and the fact that like Puyo Puyo Tetris is on the
Oh my
Switch
God,
and I can
it's
just
so
play
good.
it on.
I need to pick
I can
up a
just play
copy
it
for
on the go.
myself.
I actually
like-
picked up like the other day on Saturday. As soon as I got off work, I went to GameStop. No, I wasn't off work. I went to lunch with somebody. And as soon as I was done, I went to GameStop and I was like, oh, let me see what they have. I had a rewards card that the person gave me for like because I hadn't seen them in a long time and they got me a Christmas gift and it was just a $50 GameStop gift card.
Yeah.
And I went to GameStop and I was like, oh, I wonder what I can get. And the two games I've been wanting the most, which are 1-2 Switch and Puyo Puyo Tetris.
Oh,
1-2
God.
Switch
1-2
to mess
Switch
around.
is crap.
I like it. I like playing with friends.
I like the novelty of it. It's really not worth the price. I wish that was a pack.
Yeah, they really can't sell that for
Switch
$60.
equivalent to Face Raiders on the 3DS.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, okay, I got it for. Okay, it's gonna sound dumb. Let me check. I have like the box like right next to me. I got
But
it.
I guess with that, Rose, how do you think it stacked up?
What was the question in particular?
Well, how do you think the Switch then and now? How do you
Then
think it
and now?
stacks up?
There's a few unfulfilled promises, such as the online setup and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
actually being out. The lack of video chat or voice chat in general in the online games hurts it a little bit, in my opinion.
Friend code suck.
But outside of that, the games that have come out on the platform, there has been some real heavy hitters. Like it's like I can't think of a single system that had 2 or more titles drop in its first year and also be Game of the Year contenders,
Most definitely.
which is ridiculous for a launch system.
Oh yeah.
Or a system launch versus a year, because like with Mario Odyssey and Zelda Breath of the Wild dropping in the first year of a system like that, that is a crazy good year.
Absolutely. And I'll be honest, Kenton, I remember you said how you were kind of disappointed with the number of titles that were released.
hmm
But I think even though I'm one who I never feel like I own a game if I just have it digitally, if we're taking the eShop into account here, the Switch more than surpassed how many titles I expected.
Yeah.
That's true.
Like physical releases, I would have liked some more for sure, and I would have liked less bait and switch titles, and we'll go into what I mean by that in the second
Since
half.
I'm more of a portable fan, I always think about the 3DS, because like the 3DS when it launched
Yeah.
didn't
Oh,
have a lot
God.
of games, and it took like a year before they started actually putting like retail releases on the eShop or any improved indie games in the eShop. So like it was sparse and dry for like the first year and a half on 3DS.
Mhm.
And then when you compare that to the Wii U being roughly the same, and then you compare that to the Switch actually having games in its first year,
Yeah.
I'm so happy with its progress so far.
And I'll touch on this more in the second half, but Mario Odyssey, and I say this to someone you know, Kenton, you know how much I love Sonic Mania, especially since you got me that Sonic Mania record for Christmas. That was going to be my game of the year until Mario Odyssey came out. And I think on that, it's not really a bombshell, on that point, I think it's time that we segue, that we take a bit of a small, just a few minute break. So any final things, one last point y'all would like to ask before we end off the first half of tonight's episode?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just considering
Oh,
like
go.
oh okay, sorry. I'm just kind of glad that we got a Sonic game on a Nintendo console anyway. But
You got a good one and a bad one.
I guess the one last thing is that
Hey, I like Forces.
maybe we can save that for next time. But if we're talking just any more things that to mention really quickly, I guess the lack of virtual console is a little bit upsetting, but with all the focus they've been putting into the eShop, it's not too bad.
For sure. And Snorzy?
I just wanted to say that I found the prices on those games.
Yep. Yeah.
I got my 1-2 Switch for 36 and my Puyo for not even 23.
Benefits
That's
of
not
waiting.
bad because the Steam release that just came out for Puyo Puyo like this week is $25. So that's not bad.
And then for some reason, EB is still trying to milk $80 off of new versions of 1-2 Switch, and that ain't happening.
Yeah.
I got mine pre-owned.
Walmart's already dropped the price. There's some used game stores in town that are already dropping the price on 1-2 Switch. Hell, even the digital copy of 1-2 Switch has a drop in price, like base price, not sale.
Right.
So, I mean, EB's always been kind of slow to the curve on that sometimes.
Sure. Any final thing you want to ask before we segue?
No, I think we're good. I think we could go into our break now.
For sure. Then in that case, we'll be back talking about more Nintendo Switch goodness after this small break. So stay tuned when we're back on tonight's episode of Stuff We Say. So for tonight, instead of doing a traditional ad break, we wanted to let you know who are your hosts. So
You have me. I'm Rose, a.k.a. at Rose Cuddles on Twitter. I do indie art, and I've been part of the local game dev scene for a couple of years. I've also worked with some abroad kind of indie dev scenes as well, and I attend a lot of game jams and such like that. Basically, game development as a hobby is my jam.
And then as for me, I'm James Christensen. I run the YouTube channel Stuff We Play, along with being a writer for BagoGames.com and also just being a general freelance writer and video editor / filmographer. And yeah, this is, I guess, from the title Stuff We Say, I guess, not really a spinoff, but definitely very much so associated with Stuff We Play. But
Yeah.
it's more of a community setting for us to all get together and talk about the stuff that we love. And I
And we have James here. He is basically the main showrunner of this podcast. This was kind of his brainchild. He got a few ideas from people, and he's starting to collaborate a bunch of YouTubers together for this. So we will have a rotational cast of hosts, James being mostly the headliner for most of the podcast.
But it's not to undersell you at all, because
No, of course not.
because everything from the lights to the setup to even helping me through
Troubleshooting.
things, like when my MacBook that this is being recorded on just crashed on us. That has been Rose, along with being, I guess, the voice of reason here.
I've been tech support. Yay!
And I've been emotional support.
Sure.
Sure. But regardless, I hope you're enjoying the show, and let's get on to the second half. So we are back on this pilot episode of Stuff We Say. How's everyone doing? Is everyone still doing good tonight?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And in part 2, we're going to be going into a little bit more of our Switch discussion, and then we're going to go into another segment after that.
Yes. So to continue on from before, we ended off part 1 by saying Nintendo Switch, then and now, what we thought, and some aspects had lived up to our expectations, and some had failed to meet them. But let's go into more in depth on the most major aspect of this console, the most major aspect of any console, and that's the games. So, what were your thoughts on the games as a whole for the Switch? Rose, let's start with you.
Well, I would like to just say that, like, I've never had the experience before where building kind of a Game of the Year or, like, top 10 Game of the Year list being primarily off of one system. And it's not like I played just the Switch. I got a PS4 this same year, and I played a lot of great games on it. I played a lot of PC games still as well. But the Switch just hit it out of the park. I mean, I got to play Disgaea 5, and I could have gotten that on the PS4, but I ended up opting for the Switch because since it's an RPG, it's portable. That was phenomenal. And then, like, there's, of course, the flagship games such as Zelda and Mario, which were amazing as well. So I feel like Nintendo hit it out of the park on either making great games for the system or securing great third-party titles for it too.
For sure. What about you guys? What do you think? Snorzy?
I think that the Switch more than like lived up to my expectations, but I guess like in retrospective, I guess my expectations from Nintendo were low due to the Wii U. I think.
For sure. And what about you,
Okay.
Kenton? Oh, Snorzy
I was
going.
just gonna say I really like the game lineup, and this is like the first time that I actually have thought like, oh, I wonder what's going to Game of the Year. Like for the past couple of years, I've been like, oh yeah, Overwatch is getting Game of the Year, or I think The Witcher 3 got Game of the Year last time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And like that's one other thing. I've never seen one company drop more than one game in a year that's a game of the year contender like we
For
had in
sh-
2017.
For sure, like,
Yeah.
I'd say there's probably 3 games from Nintendo last year that could have been anyone's game of the year, in my opinion.
Mhm.
What about you, Kenton?
if you say Sonic Forces.
Well,
I said Nintendo. I said I liked Sonic Forces, not that was my game of the year. Do not
As
twist
I
my
say,
words.
that might not be. I think that'd be like worse Game of the Year.
I also liked OC Generator 2017.
Hey, let me finally let my dream of being a Sonic the Hedgehog OC.
Yep.
So, Kenton, what do you think? For all furry porn aside.
well, even as someone who doesn't really own a Switch, I still feel like they did a decent job in getting their really good first party titles out. Now that I know that they're in the process of making another Metroid Prime game, I'm pretty happy about that. Although I feel like by now there should have at least been something Animal Crossing related that wasn't like the mobile version, even though the mobile version was good. So I'm a little bit disappointed on that. But the fact that um, Breath of the Wild, which I played over at a friend's house, and it's super engaging and it's amazing, and Mario Odyssey, which I've just seen so many great things about. I feel like that the fact that those two came out in 2017 is it just it completely defied the like kind of Nintendo precedent of having only like one huge hit per year, and also I like the fact that they're kind of bringing some other franchises back into the limelight, like Sonic with Sonic Mania and Forces,
I still liked
and
Forces.
as well as like Snorzy was mentioning earlier, Puyo Puyo Tetris, and then there was there was one other game that was that seemed like pretty good as just kind of a casual experience. I forget what it was called, but you have to switch all the tiles to a certain color.
I remember which game you're talking about. I do not recall the title off the top of my head.
Othello?
No.
No.
It was like this Bomberman, but with color type thing.
Oh, interesting. And it's weird because the Switch has had 3 games that I could potentially say, for a lot of people, were Game of the Year. There was, of course, Breath of the Wild. There was Mario Odyssey, which was my personal Game of the Year. And I don't know why, but I feel like Doom on the Switch was a Game of the Year for a lot of people. Just because I feel like a lot of people, like, Doom had been their Game of the Year when it was on PS4, and just playing that portably did a lot for them.
The port of Doom on the Switch is impressive. Like, I cannot believe that game is on a portable system and performing at a fairly consistent and pretty rate that it can be on what is essentially a glorified tablet.
For sure.
So I'm a little bit awestruck by that. The other game that kind of gobsmacked me a bit with that was the Skyrim port and all of its DLC.
Yeah, that's nice.
Being on
That's
one
really
cartridge.
nice.
That
Yeah.
was crazy. Like, I never played Skyrim before, or at least I played it a little bit, but not serious. I didn't really get into it. I own it on PC and stuff. I maybe put like 5 hours into the game total on the PC at that point. When I picked it up on the Switch, because I could take it on the go, I could do the grinding during my downtime and stuff like that, I put in like a solid 80 hours into that game, and I love it. I see why people love Skyrim so much now, and it took the Switch to show that to me.
And I think that's something to mention as well, because with me, I'm a very busy person now. I'm a student, and I work, and for the next month at least, along with doing my freelance stuff, I'm also working a day job as a total. So with that, I don't get a lot of time to game. So a lot of my gaming that I don't do that's not for the channel is either on my Switch or my 3DS, and I'm playing it either on the bus to or from class or university, or just on my breaks when I'm not working on something. And if it weren't for the Switch, I don't think I would have been able to experience games like Mario Odyssey, or games like when I borrowed Puyo Puyo Tetris from a buddy of mine, or Troll and I. Okay, that was kind of shit. But I guess with that, I was going to do the best and worst, but let's go start off with the worst. What was the worst game on the Nintendo Switch so far? Like, which game really grinded your gears and pissed you off? Kenton, let's start with you, just from what you've seen.
From what I've seen, I don't know. I feel like in terms of physical releases, there hasn't been that much shovelware, and I know we've ragged on Sonic Forces enough already, and the fact that it came out for Switch, but it's a good thing that they at least released it on there, and I'm not gonna shit on them too much. So let's see, like legitimately the worst game I feel like that came out for Switch. I mean the Minecraft Switch edition. I mean there wasn't really a whole lot added to it, so it doesn't seem like a very good port really. I mean like what's there that's not in the Xbox 360 port, and that's like almost 6 years old now. So
I feel that too, since like you got all those like what was it, that special Nintendo map if you got the Wii U version?
Yeah, the skin pack thing that they brought out and the crossover thing map as well.
Hooray!
However, on the note of Minecraft though, I am looking forward to the Switch getting the Better Together update and actually being cross-platform compatible with Xbox One, mobile, and Windows 10 editions.
Yeah, that's nice.
Because that, I feel, is going to do a lot for me. Because like I'll be able to host on my computer, take the save world over to my Switch, take that on the go, do multiplayer with my friends on the go and stuff. Like, that's when I feel like Minecraft will actually be worthwhile to me on the Switch. Until then, I kind of agree. It wasn't super worth it.
What about you, Snorzy? What was? Let's give this a nice title for Ring. What's the shittiest of the Switch? Or I guess if we want to get past YouTube, the shoddiest of the Switch.
Shoddiest of the Switch.
Oh god. I'm trying to think. I don't want to. I can't even think of a Switch game that I've played that is bad. Okay, I've played this one before. I don't own it, but I've played it because my friend owns it. It's the 2K18 WWE 2K18 game.
Oh shit, that was bad.
Yeah, that was.
I actually I am a sort of fan. I don't really keep up with it nowadays, but I used to be like a really big fan of WWE, and I like the wrestling games. I think that they're really good. I think there's games out there. Like, there's a lot of games that are really fun. Nowadays, they're kind of getting meh. But I think they're adding more to them that makes them better. And I remember just seeing 2K18 on Switch, and I was like, what are we doing? I mean, I don't think it was a bad idea. I just think it was...
Just badly executed?
Yeah, very badly executed. And I don't think a lot of wrestling fans are going to be like, oh yeah, I want to get this on the Switch.
Yeah, I don't see a big market for it there.
And I'll wholeheartedly agree on that, because that was a game I was low-key interested in, because even though I'm not huge into wrestling anymore, I played all of the N64 wrestling games as a kid. Particularly, I remember, I forget if it had a subtitle, but I remember it was SmackDown versus Raw on N64. And I remember always playing that. I was like, oh, maybe since I can take it on the go, this would be my chance to get back into wrestling games, even though I'm not really into wrestling itself anymore. Mm. And when I saw just how garbage the Switch version was, no, I absolutely had to pass. Though it's not the game I'd say is worse than the Switch. That goes wholeheartedly to Troll and I, which admittedly was a pretty interesting idea for a puzzle platformer, but also it's the only Switch game where I got the game new and the Switch just had trouble reading the cartridge, and like randomly the game would just crash while I was playing it, and it's like, who the hell thought this was good optimization? That person should be fired out of a cannon.
Also, like real quick, who brought up the color game earlier?
Yeah. The Project Mekadu.
Wait, the one with the tiles and the colors?
Yeah, it's called Battle Sports Mekadu.
I looked it up. It's just called Flip Wars.
Oh,
Yeah, the
wait.
American version.
Oh, I somehow found the
Oh, well, my
Japanese
bad.
title. Okay, never mind.
So I guess though, I mean, let's go into a high note from there though. What was the best of the Switch? And I think, is it all going to be one of the three titles I mentioned
Now,
earlier?
I have to ask a very particular question for this. Are we talking about the best of the Switch up until the end of 2017, or are we talking about the best of the Switch up until this coming weekend, its first year, March 3rd?
Since this video is going up after the 1 year, or this podcast, this song, this news,
Yeah.
ESPN thing,
Sports Center.
yeah, yeah. On this episode of
MLG.
Stuff Center, I guess. What has been the best game in the first year of the Switch's launch? Mine's Mario Odyssey. Just to go on that super quick, it combines everything I love about classic Mario with a classic Banjo-Kazooie Conker's Bad Fur Day collectathon and the N64, which felt both fresh and nostalgic without being pandering. It's the best Mario game ever made, in my opinion, and it's my favorite game on the Switch, and easily within my top 5 games of all time. What about y'all? Just so I get my spiel out of the way.
All right. So for me, physical release wise, motherfucking Zelda. I've put almost 3 full playthroughs in that game. I'm on a 4th one. I'm at like nearly 400 total gameplay hours in that game. I just enjoy it mechanically. I also just like how zen it can be when you're just like walking along the landscapes and stuff like that. I've taken screenshots of the game so I can just draw from reference of those and stuff like that. I just enjoy the game a lot. However, it's not as much as I have enjoyed that game and have put a lot of love and time into that game.
Mhm.
It is not my favorite game on the Switch.
Is it Golf Story?
No. It is an indie though. My favorite game that is out on the Switch now is Celeste by Matt Thorson.
Yep.
It is a hardcore indie platformer. It's very akin to like Super Meat Boy.
Oh, cool.
And it has a story around the main character as she is climbing this difficult platforming level of a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
She's also climbing through different emotional problems and anxieties as well. So it's a really charming tale as you get to go through all this progress.
Right.
My favorite quote from the developer from a GDC talk they did was that they throw a lot of things at the players for them to learn, and then at the end they kind of do like a little remix rehash of it all so that the player can see how far they've come, and that is a good feeling, not akin to looking back at a mountain you climbed.
Right.
So I've enjoyed it a lot. Also, the art is on point, and it has probably one of the best soundtracks I've heard from an indie game in a while.
Most definitely. What about you guys? What would you say is the best of the Switch? Snorzy?
Well, okay. My favorite game is honestly Mario Odyssey, and I think it's probably followed by Zelda. But I'm not gonna do either of those two since those have been talked about. So I'm gonna say what my second favorite Nintendo Switch game is, which isn't even exclusive. It's Sonic Mania,
So
and
good.
honestly, it's the reason why I thought, oh yeah, Sonic Mania is like one of my favorites. It's probably like one of my favorites of the year, is because I remember just sitting down, like I'd seen the game. By the way, $15 on release is really good for what you're getting.
Mhm.
I remember just sitting there and thinking, wow, like the art's on point, the animation, the beginning's on point, the music. I don't think there's been a Sonic game that I could say has at least bad music.
Mhm.
At least main Sonic games. Some of the handheld games are really bad in the soundtrack department, but I think Sonic
Dark
Mania
Brotherhood.
has great gameplay. I think Sonic Mania is the tightest Sonic gameplay of all of the Sonic games.
It was made by a team that wasn't Sega, which is unusual.
Yeah.
And it was made by a team of fans, and you can see all the love and care they put into that game. Like, it's a very solid Sonic game.
Going on
Yeah, and that was
one
on
of the
that
best.
Sonic hype,
Going on the soundtrack.
and the Sonic Forces fucked it up.
Going on the soundtrack, by the way. The guy who made that is actually, he was a music remixer from YouTube called T-Lopes. I think he does like the intro music for Some Call Me Johnny and whatnot.
Yeah.
And like his music is phenomenal. Like even the remix tracks from Mania, I'd say every single remix track in Mania is better than the original version of those songs. And I know there's going to be some Sonic fanboy out there who sends me a message of some sort, just bitching at me about that.
Yeah,
But
opens up a letter, fist in the face. Like,
yeah, but I will stand by that. It is fantastic. And also, even though I like Forces, I agree that Mania is probably my favorite Sonic game of all time, and it would only be better if it had a physical release. And to be fair, I remember seeing this meme that I would completely agree with, and this is what I'm going to just say before I move on, and that's it was a picture of Sonic Forces, a picture of Sonic Mania, and Forces was like Sonic Forces by Sonic Team. A team of industry devs spent several years creating their magnum opus, and it was like Sonic Mania by Christian Whitehead and Headcanon. And it was like a bunch of fanboys led by an Australian.
Yeah.
And I was like, which one's better? Kenton, what about you? What's the best to Switch?
Well, from the few things that I've played, Zelda has been absolutely phenomenal and addicting, and I'm just hoping that this summer I can finally just put some other stuff away and finally purchase it and spend a lot of time on it. But I feel like the best thing to talk about would be how much they improved Splatoon when they released Splatoon 2. Because I remember I tried out Splatoon because I really wanted to just see what was so good about it. I didn't really see the appeal, and as I was playing it on the Wii U, just I think in the store as a demo, the motion controls on the gamepad were really off-putting to me, especially in the single-player mode. But I remember when I played it on the on the tablet itself, because there was just like a kind of a circle table of tablets at the Switch launch event. It was amazing, and the controls were like so much more intuitive, I feel like, than it was on the gamepad, and just the way they've improved, kind of slightly improved the graphics and the colors to make it so much more pleasing to the eye has been amazing. And then even just playing it, because I've played it on an HD TV before too, and it just looks lovely. And I don't know, it really kind of brought me back into a genre that I've been avoiding for a while because I'm not very good at it. But the fact that it can make it look so appealing and also so addicting is it really kind of touched my heart to put it that way.
And I think that's a great point to, I guess, go into our final thoughts. So there is one more game I'd like to mention first, since, Rose, you mentioned the indie first. And I would quickly like to touch on Golf Story. I plug this game every chance I get, and I know my main channel, I'm starting to move away from the Switch stuff, being that's only a personal choice, but in a lot of my Switch stuff, I bring this game up whenever I can. Golf Story is a golf RPG, and as someone who doesn't care for golf, but who loves an old school style RPG, this game, Golf Story, has so much love, so much care, such a beautiful graphical style in it. The gameplay is tight, and though it's not a very long game, you meet so many great characters, go to so many weird and wacky biomes. There's just so much love and care there that I would say that I'd put it definitely in my top 5 Switch games,
I agree.
And the only thing that's really pissed me off in Switch games that I'm also going to briefly mention, the bait and switch thing, like Capcom, why is Mega Man Legacy Collection 1 and 2 only have Legacy Collection 1, which is NES games on a cartridge, and 2 is a download code? That's stupid. That's bad, and you should feel bad. Now let's end on a high note, shall we? So, going into rant mode for a sec. I guess the final thing on the Switch. Is it worth it? Should you buy a Nintendo Switch in 2018? Let's just do like a quick little 3-sentence spiel from each person. Kenton, let's start with you.
I'd say absolutely. I think it's still going very strong, and I feel like that it could appeal to any sort of gamer, especially because you have Doom and Skyrim, and there aren't too many people who haven't played Skyrim before. But if you still haven't picked up Doom, I feel like it'd be great to get it on if you still want to play something like that while experiencing Zelda and Odyssey. And the fact that you can take it with you, say you just want to, I don't know, get out of the house, or you want to go to a restaurant, or if you're a student, I feel like it'd be perfect for that, because you're not going to have more free time than really 2 or 3 hours, which is the battery life. So
True,
as long as you're not paying $60 for 1-2 Switch, I'd say you're doing pretty well.
Snorzy.
I'd say absolutely again. If you want a console that you can take on the go, I think it's a great party console with a bunch of like really fun releases to just hang out with friends and play. You have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Do not get Mario Kart 8, get Deluxe. Yeah, shout outs to the eShop Jackbox Party games. Jackbox Party, I don't know what it's
Oh
called.
right, yeah.
Party
That's
pack?
on
Draw-
Switch, and it's on a bunch of platforms. I think it's on like Amazon TV. But it's a really fun game to play with friends and just get on your phones and mess around with. 1-2 Switch. Don't buy it full price. Buy it like pre-owned or something. Uh, just a bunch of really fun party games to play with friends, and a bunch of single player games too.
For
Yeah,
sure.
Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, not Sonic Forces, Sonic Mania. Uh,
Oh.
I guess Golf Story. I haven't played it, but hearing what you said, James, sounds like a really fun time. A bunch of fun puzzle games like Bomberman or that Flip Wars, Snipper Clips, and my personal favorite, Puyo Puyo Tetris.
Hell yeah. So I guess finally, Rose, your little spiel.
I think the Switch is absolutely worth it, especially at this point, a year after its release. It now has a library of games to help you right from the get-go, rather than you waiting for the next one to come along.
Mm-hmm.
And like, not only does it have strong first-party and third-party titles holding it and putting it on a pedestal, such as Mario Odyssey and Zelda, it also has a really, really great roster of indie games. A few that I can mention is like Celeste, that game I just mentioned earlier. I cannot
Yeah.
rant about that enough. Stardew Valley's on there. You got Phantom Breaker Battlegrounds. You have The End Is Nigh. You have Super Meat Boys on there. You have
Senran Kagura, for those of you in Japan.
you have Axiom Verge, which is a phenomenal like Metroidvania if you're into the old school Metroid games. And one of my personal favorite indie games as well, outside of Celeste, was It'll Do 2. So if you had a craving for like the 2D Zelda dungeon crawling and puzzles, It'll Do 2 is just that, and it's phenomenal.
And I guess just again, my final points is absolutely. Though I think the battery life, which max at like 3 hours, is trash. And though I wish Nintendo would get their act together and put a decent online service on it, where it really counts is the game and the functionality, and I think it succeeds there. From indie titles like Golf Story to fantastic AAA games like your Dooms, your Skyrims, your Breath of the Wilds, and your Mario Odysseys, even at $400 Canadian, and even then, at that point, say just go ahead and buy the Mario Odyssey bundle, which comes with the sexy Mario Odyssey red Joy-Cons. It's 100% worth it, in my opinion.
Localized
So,
Secret of Mana
there's one-
or Seiken Densetsu 3. I
Yeah, bring out Mother 3.
Yeah. And see, this is just before we even get Virtual Console. Having Virtual Console on top of all of these great games is just going to build the Switch up even more.
For sure. So I think that's it for the meat and potatoes this episode, but we're going to end this off with a little section where we answer questions. So usually in this section I would put out a thing either in the Stuff We Play Discord server or on my own personal Twitter, where we would ask you, the viewers, to pretty much submit questions. We choose 2 or 3 of them. However, as it's the first episode and as we're going slightly over time, we're going to pass on it. And rather, I think I'm just going to mention this here, and I'm going to, I guess, kind of just put the question out there. Just answer with the title of it, just to break the ice
Yep.
one more time and,
Yep.
show what this is. What was your first video game? Kenton?
Oh my goodness. Well, thing is that they used to have N64s and arcade games at the local Burger King, and so I think my first video game was Pokemon Snap, but I don't remember it at all. So I think the first video games that I remember playing would be things, because they're also local arcades, like Missile Command and Joust, because my dad really liked to play that. And then when they replaced the N64s at that Burger King, they put in, oh my goodness, they had a full body stun runner machine, and I've never seen a stun runner
nice.
machine since. And and then they had Metal Slug 3, the best Metal Slug.
Oh, I love the Neo Geo.
And yeah, because they had a
Yes.
Neo Geo AES there, so I'm pretty sure they also had like Raiders and stuff like that. And then one game that particularly sticks out to me in my childhood is another vertical shooter. I think it's made by Capcom. It's called 19XX, and it's a continuation of
Awesome.
series, and I feel like it
Yeah.
was it's kind of like a bullet hell for people like me who are absolutely terrible at bullet hells, because it's still more just like it still has the classic um actual shooting feel without kind of resorting to these absolutely ridiculous tactics. So yeah, those are a few of the first video games that I ever played.
Cool. And Snorzy, what was your first video game?
My first video game was played on an actual Game Boy Color, and it was Pokemon Red.
Nice. Rose, how about you?
My very first experience with video games was with a Super Nintendo, and it was Super Mario World and Super Mario Kart.
Nice.
Nice. Which one did you like more?
Mario World. I have Mario World on everything I own.
It's so good. And don't get me wrong, I like Super Mario Kart, but it hasn't aged the best.
Yeah, it hasn't aged the best, unfortunately.
And speaking of stuff that has aged questionably, my first game was Sonic 1 on the Sega Genesis. I remember I was a little... I could have been more than like 3. It's a very, very vague memory, but I remember I was like, ooh, video games. My parents was like, hey, we have your sister's Genesis in the garage. And this was probably around 2000, 2001. And I remember playing Sonic 1, and I remember at some point I got past Green Hill, and I was bored with Marble Zone, and so I just go through Green Hill all the time. And yeah, and eventually my sister sold that, and I'll be honest, Sonic 1, as much fun as groundbreaking as it was, every classic Sonic game after was better. As for the first game I own, it was either a Game Boy Advance with Super Monkey Ball or a GameCube with Mario Kart Double Dash.
Ooh.
I got one of those for that birthday and one of them for that Christmas, but as I have a January 7th birthday and Christmas on December 25th, they're close enough together. I don't remember which exactly was which. So before I ramble on more, as I tend to, I think it's time for us to go ahead and do our outro. So where can we find y'all? Let's start with you, Kenton, as you're our guest of honor tonight.
Honor. Jeez. Well, if you'd like to just follow my personality, I am at twitter.com/platd00d, and my YouTube channel will probably be down in the description, and I go by Plat. I used to make a good amount of gaming related content, but as I have limited time nowadays, I've been trying to focus on more just like kind of casual video productions,
Extra vlogs.
yeah, vlogs, and sometimes some things set to music, which I happen to enjoy.
Nice. And Snorzy, how about you?
Well, if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at twitter.com/Snorzy Melee. If you want to follow me on Twitch, you can find me at Snorzy SSBM on Twitch. And I also, from here to there, make YouTube videos. My content's sort of it's varied. There's not much legitimacy going on. It's usually joke videos or like me uploading speedrun clips. But if you want to follow me on YouTube, I don't really have a designated link, so just search up Snorzy and you'll find me. I like to speedrun Danny Phantom Urban Jungle and John Cena's Sexy High School Adventure, which I'm still working to get world record on, which I used to have, but now it's taken.
Nice.
I know the feel of having a record taken.
You'll get it someday, dude.
That's
I
normal.
believe in you.
I also am the creator of the idea of this podcast and am doing most of the designs for backgrounds.
Very cool.
Indeed you are. This was all your idea, especially the title. And now, Rose, what about you?
I am Rose, a.k.a. at Rose Cuddles on Twitter. I don't really have a YouTube presence yet, but I plan to quite
You have a
soon.
channel.
I have a channel up. I have to kind of dust it off, clean out some crap, and actually put good content on there. The game plan with that, though, is going to be some gameplay stuff and possibly some art stuff and game design development stuff, too. Just some insights and stuff like that. So, not 100% sure what it's going to look like yet, but it is an up-and-coming project of mine.
Nice. And of course, I'm James from Stuff We Play. YouTube.com/Stuff We Play. It's either down in the description or Google it. If you don't like Google, Bing. Yeah. And you are watching Stuff We Play. You're watching Stuff We say.
Yeah.
There
what
we
did you
go.
say?
It's stuff. I'm getting used to a new title. I'm
Yeah.
presenting a new thing. I'm new at this. So give me slack, y'all. I hope
The stuff we say about the stuff we play.
exactly. So with that, remember to subscribe to Stuff We Say on YouTube. Follow me at Stuff We Play on Twitter, or join the Stuff We Play Discord server, where there will be a dedicated chat to this podcast. We're going to try to have at least one episode out a month, potentially two. We're playing it by ear at this point. And so stay tuned, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for watching, and remember, smash that like button.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Sonic Forces sucks.
It's more than enough.